Alrighty, so like I told you guys on Friday, your first test is going to be this Wednesday. I'm doing this graphic organizer type thingy today as notes, and then we have a review assignment for homework. I'll also do a review tomorrow in class so that I see both groups. In person with review. Sorry, I was just thinking, we also just got an email that we will all be back in person April 12th, and that there will not be in-person learning April 7th, but you guys will still do Canvas stuff, which actually works out well because it's a test day. So all of you will just take the first test through Canvas that Wednesday. So I'm going to start with sampling methods, and then we'll go into the observational studies and experiments. So two very common bad sampling methods. First one is convenience sampling. And then our second one is voluntary response. Good sampling methods. So obviously the first one is simple random sample, SRS. And then there were two others. Well, sorry. There were three others, but I mentioned the third one. We don't use it in class, but presidential polls use it, so I wanted to talk about it. Stratified random sample, which I'm already tired of writing all these words. I'm not even like close to being with the notes. Sample. And then cluster sample. And then the other one we talked about was a multi-stage sample, but we don't use that for the test or homework, but it does show up. And of course, our samples can introduce bias. The most common types of bias were response bias, so like people lie or purposely give wrong answers to mess with the data. Non-response bias, so like me when I never answer the phone. I'm sorry, I'm chewing gum and I just thought they might be able to hear me chew my gum. I'm gonna go throw it out. And then the last type is under coverage. Sorry about that. All of a sudden I could hear myself chewing gum and I'm like, that's probably not the best thing for a video. So under coverage, that's like the household surveys, where homeless people are left out, people who live in shelters, phone surveys, people who don't list their phone number, that kind of stuff. Tips for using a table of random digits. So make sure that your labels are all the same length. So if you're working with a list of 50, 50 is 2 digits, so you would use 01. Or if you're working with a list of 150, 150 is 3 digits, so all your labels would have to be 3 digits. So 0, 1, 50, or 0, 0, 1 to 150. So they have to be the same length. Otherwise, it's they don't all have equal chance of being chosen. And then if you're picking like people and you can't have repeats, either say ignore repeats or you want unique numbers. You want so many unique numbers. All right. Observational studies and experiments. So an observational study, remember, no treatment. You're just observing. And then with an experiment, treatment must be imposed. Principles of experimental design. So we're going to define it and then talk about its purpose. I'm going to sneeze. So first of all, there are 4 principles of experimental design: replication, randomization, control, and then the 4th one is compare. Which isn't listed because, well, it's kind of self-explanatory. You need to compare your results. So there it is. And then these ones we're going to talk more in depth about. So replication. Remember I told you I don't like that word. It's really telling you need big sample size. So you need to have enough. I'm going to run that. Can't fit it. Enough, except for my pen dying. Subjects. Seriously? Well, that just makes me angry. I guess I'll change color. I'll use orange right here. So the purpose of having enough subjects is that the larger the sample size, it helps average out individual variability. So it makes the data more valid. It lessens the effects of those confounding variables. I'm going to abbreviate larger. Individual. Okay, that's my abbreviation there. Variability. lessens confounding, effects of confounding. Randomization, so you must use random assignment to assign treatments. And the purpose there is it makes roughly equivalent or similar groups, so it helps lessen the effects of compounding, helps lessen the presence of bias, large sample size, random assignment, helps a lot of things in stats. Makes groups roughly similar. Lessens confounding and bias. Control. Control keeps variables that might affect the response. Excuse me. Control keeps variables that might affect response the same among groups. And the purpose there is to prevent confounding. And look at that, the purpose of pretty much everything is to get rid of confounding. We'll come back to those. Those are nicely grouped together. If you hear controlled experiment, that's an experiment that utilizes the principles of control, which would be those. And I'll talk more about those in just a minute. Utilizes placebo effect. That's where people respond to a treatment even though the treatment was inactive or ineffective. So they think that the treatment's going to work. So even though they don't actually get the treatment, they're the control group, there are results. completely randomized design. That's an experiment that uses a random process to assign treatments. Let's see, color. I'm going to abbreviate experiment. I'm not used to forcing myself to write this small handouts. Alright, and now we're going to talk about those principles of control. So blind, single blind, and double blind. So single blind, the subjects don't know what treatment they're getting, and the experimenters do, or vice versa. So experimenters don't know, but the subjects do, although more often than not, it's the subjects who don't know the treatment they're getting. Sorry, I was getting a different color. So, blind. Like I said, I'm just going to put subjects don't know. There are a few cases where the subjects would know, but the experimenters wouldn't. As long as one set, subjects or experimenters, doesn't know it's single blind or just blind. And then double blind, both the subjects and the experimenters don't know what treatment is given. Control group. Control group is important because it gives us a baseline for comparison, and they tend to receive a placebo, so a inactive treatment. When they do like drug experiments, they'll actually give them a sugar pill, like if it's a pill that they're testing. Or we talked about the ultrasounds and how you could give a fake ultrasound. Block design. So block design separates subjects into groups based on a variable that they have in common that we think will affect the response, and then you do the experiment for each block. Subjects common. We think will affect response. And then do the experiment for each block. And I'm going to abbreviate experiment. And then just as a reminder, unmatched pairs is a subtype of a block design where your blocks are of size 2 or each subject gets both treatments. And that is it. Hopefully it helps organize all the words we learned in this unit. Oh, so glad this unit's over. Like I said, I'll see you guys tomorrow and we'll have a review day, but everybody's going to take the test through Canvas on Wednesday. And I hope you had a good weekend.